In the normal course of your work cycle between offshore and your own home environment, perhaps the most dangerous part of your journey is the overland transport between your home and the helicopter base. It is Shell Expro's policy to continue to introduce new equipment in those areas where we can minimize the risk, that is, the risk which is under our control. Nevertheless, having introduced such equipment, it is incumbent on us to make sure that the users of such equipment are properly trained in the equipment's use. We're proposing to introduce a new piece of equipment, the air pocket, and this program will demonstrate how it can be used. Air pocket is designed to maximize the breathing time for your survival in the event of a helicopter ditching and subsequently rolling over. It is very important to follow all the instructions, get the appropriate practice such that you can maximize the benefit of this equipment. We hope and pray that this equipment will never be necessary, but remember, you have probably more chance of winning the jackpot in the national lottery than you ever will have of using this piece of equipment in anger.
The next time you're issued with a survival suit, you may find it has a cover on the front like this. Underneath this cover, there's a new piece of safety equipment. It's called an air pocket. Now, the mouthpiece of the air pocket, which you will have to know how to use, looks like this. It's rather like a diver's mouthpiece, and in fact, in many ways it is similar. But this one isn't connected to an air supply. What it is connected to is a plastic bag. Now, already I can hear you saying, what's the point of this? A mouthpiece attached to a plastic bag. What sort of safety equipment is that anyway? It's called a rebreather, and potentially it could save your life. When you attended your offshore survival course, you were trained to escape from a helicopter underwater. You sat in a device like this one, went into the water, and made your escape. If you were in a group like this one, you probably got out in well under a minute. If you were by the door or window, it probably took you about 15 seconds, even though it felt a lot longer. What if it had to take longer because you still had to break out the window, or because the person in front of you was having trouble? How long can you hold your breath? 30 seconds? 45 seconds? A minute? Minute and a half? It's probably something you've never thought about, and I know I certainly don't want to have to. However, there are people here at Shell who have thought about it, and a lot more besides. And the result is this, the air pocket. It's a rebreather. So what's a rebreather? Well, first of all, as I said before, it's not an air supply. This is Scuba, that self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. You've got compressed air in the tank which comes up through the regulator to the mouthpiece. With that, you can stay underwater for hours, but it's not exactly the sort of thing that you want to wear in a helicopter. Even if you had a tank this size, holding, say, 5 minutes of air, still there are problems. This is Dr. Alan Milne of RGIT. Dr. Milne, what are the problems of scuba gear in helicopter escapes?
The main answer to that is that in order to become proficient in using such gear, a great deal of training is required, and further to that, ongoing practice to maintain that level of training. The diving community, they have a long training period with such apparatus, inappropriate really for emergency use by those unfamiliar with it. And my understanding is that the CAA would not approve the use of such complex and potentially dangerous equipment in the context of use by untrained civilian personnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So altogether it is too complicated, too dangerous to use for passengers in these sort of situations?
That's how I would see it, yes.
Mm-hmm. This then brings us back to the rebreather, the air pocket, a bag with a mouthpiece attached to it. Now, how does it work? And more important, what are the advantages in using it? The mouthpiece has a valve in it, and when you first put the mouthpiece into your mouth, the valve allows you to breathe air from the outside. The air flows in this side and straight into your mouth. When this valve is pulled, however, the airflow is directed to and from the plastic bag, the pocket. The idea is you take a single deep breath before you pull the knob. If the air pocket has been activated and is no longer required, the valve can be reset to take in fresh air by inhaling deeply and pressing in this large button on the end of the mouthpiece. Once you pull the knob, you breathe in and out of the pocket. You rebreathe the same lungful of air. The first time you exhaled, there was in fact still some oxygen left in the lungful. You did not use it all. When you take the air back in, you use some more, and when you exhale, you add a bit more carbon dioxide to the air in the pocket. With each breath, you use up a little more of the oxygen in the air. However, if you'd exhaled into the water, you'd have nothing to breathe in. What the air pocket provides is the ability to exhale and get a bit more usable air. And what that does is buy you time. There's another factor in the North Sea that didn't affect you in the Hewitt, and that's the cold. In the tank, the temperature was probably 20 degrees Celsius. In the North Sea, even in summer, it rarely gets above 15 degrees. This leads to two problems. The first is called the Gasp Reflex. When you're dumped into cold water, even if you're wearing a survival suit, the shock of the cold makes you go In addition, recent research proves that cold will reduce the amount of time you can hold your breath to about 15 seconds. It could be a lot less. Now that's fine if you're out of the aircraft and on your way to the surface. You'll just arrive at the surface choking and spluttering. But if you haven't got out of the aircraft, it could mean serious trouble. So you can see the value of having a method of keeping a lung full of air when the gasp reflex takes over, or when the cold gets to you. The air pocket. The fact of having some breathing space adds a number of enhancements to your chances of a safe exit underwater. Knowing you can safely exhale and inhale again will help you work out your orientation. Are you upside down or simply under the water? With a minute or so of breathable air, it is possible to take careful steps in getting out. No one's suggesting you should hang around underwater, but Air Pocket will allow you to take a few seconds to assess each step in your escape. If you have to remove a window or hatch, you'll have the time to get it right on the first go. This is how you deploy and use the Air Pocket. The first step is to remove the protective cover. Then check the valve button is pushed in, so you'll be breathing the air from the cabin. Then place the mouthpiece in your mouth and put on the nose clip. At this point, you're still breathing air from the cabin through this end of the mouthpiece. At the point when you think the aircraft may roll over, take a single deep breath. Then pull the knob to release the valve. The best way to do this is to grasp it with your first finger between the knob and the body of the mouthpiece, and then squeeze. It's much simpler to do than it is to explain, but when you try it in your training session, you'll see what the idea is. When the valve actuates, you should hear the solid pop. You're now rebreathing. As you exhale, the air goes into the air pocket in your suit. You can now exit from the helicopter. The air pocket looks like a simple device, and essentially it is. However, a great deal of thought and years of research and testing have gone into its design. The pocket itself has been designed to be used even though there may be some water in it. So long as you have a good breath to begin with and pull the activating knob, you'll get the air you need. Even if you're underwater, it's still possible to deploy and use the air pocket, providing you have the all-important breath. When you pull the activating knob, any water in the mouthpiece will be expelled. You can then exhale and rebreathe. Like most other pieces of safety equipment which you may have to use, you'll be given the opportunity to practice with Air Pocket. This is an Air Pocket dry trainer and will enable you to practice with the device and feel what it's like to use it underwater. Because of things like pressures and gravity, the way you breathe in and out of the Air Pocket feels different depending on whether you're right side up or upside down. The dry trainer simulates exactly the different pressures without you having to go into the water. Shell will provide these trainers on offshore installations and various locations onshore. To book time on one of them, you simply contact your line supervisor. Before each session, the mouthpiece, pocket and connecting tube are sterilized. You then put the mouthpiece in your mouth and continue to breathe normally. When you're ready, take a single deep breath and pull the knob. Your instructor will start the timer. You'll notice when you're breathing into the bag, you have to push the air in, and when you inhale from the bag tends to force the air into your lungs. This is the situation if you were the right way up. The instructor will change the position of the bag. This is what it would feel like if you were rolling over into the inverted position. Notice that you no longer have to push the air into the pocket. When you're upside down, it will tend to pull the air out of your lungs. And when you inhale, you have to work a little harder to get the air back. For training purposes, your time will be limited to a minute. However, the Air Pocket can increase your normal breath hold by about 2.5 to 3 times.
Some 50 seconds. And we're going to keep it.
So there you have it, the Air Pocket Dry Trainer. You'll get a chance to try it out on your initial training course. But after that, if you want to practice, just contact your line supervisor. Now let's look at how the Air Pocket would be used in a real situation. What we're now going to show you is the step-by-step procedure which you should adopt in order to deploy and use the Air Pocket. At the point where the helicopter is about to roll over, we'll switch to the Hewitt so you can see exactly what happens underwater. Now we're at the point where the helicopter's captain determines that there's something seriously wrong and he may have to land on the water. Here are the steps you should take. 1. Check your seatbelt is tight across your hips. 2. Remove headsets and any other sharp objects. 3. Zip up your suit or put on your hood and replace your electrical headset. 4. Remove the cover from your Air Pocket tube, taking care not to trap the tube in your seatbelt or life jacket. Check the valve button is pushed in. Then place the mouthpiece into your mouth with the shield between your teeth and lips and put on the nose clip. Do not pull the knob, but continue to breathe air from the cabin. However, in an emergency, if time does not permit, just tighten your seatbelt and brace for impact. Assess your situation and use the best means of escape. If you need your Air Pocket, deploy it. In a controlled descent, after the aircraft has landed, you must then locate the direction of the nearest emergency exit with one hand and place the other hand on your seatbelt release. Again, assess your situation. Continue to breathe normally through the mouthpiece and follow the crew's instructions. Unless you feel the aircraft beginning to capsize, do not pull the valve knob to activate the rebreather. If the aircraft is beginning to roll over, take as deep a breath as you can and using your seatbelt hand, pull the valve knob. Then replace your hand on your seatbelt buckle release. Continue to point towards your emergency exit with the other hand. As the aircraft finishes rolling over, release your seatbelt and make your way out through your emergency exit. The air pocket will allow you to breathe while you escape from the aircraft. However, it's not an air supply, so you must still act quickly and efficiently to exit the aircraft. When you reach the surface, first inflate your life jacket. Then press in the end valve on your air pocket mouthpiece to prevent cold water from getting into the bag inside your suit. We're going to take another look at the escape from the Hewitt from the point where the cabin begins to roll over. What I want you to do is take a deep breath at the point when the passenger pulls the activation knob on his mouthpiece, and then hold that breath until the last passenger surfaces. Now, that's not the limit of availability, but it will give you an idea of how long you can continue to rebreathe underwater using the air pocket, compared with how long you can actually just hold your breath. We'll put a timer on the screen so that you can get an idea of just how long it takes. But remember, you're not in a cold, hostile environment. Well, there you have it, air pocket. We all hope that you'll never have to use it, of course, but like all the other pieces of safety equipment that are available to you, you must know when and how to use it. It'll be there in your survival suit when you need it, and it may be the thing which saves your life.